Has been commented on this channel, why do I put the prices of everything? You know, why do I mention it? Is it because there's a materialistic element to the channel? I have to say, I thought it'd be bloody obvious, but actually it's because there's a lot of people that watch this channel that are inspired to come to live in rural Thailand, and I can't tell you how many of them I've actually bumped into here that have said to me, it was watching your channel that made me move to rural Thailand, whether that be from Bangkok or cut the retirement early in the UK or the USA and decide to come over to Thailand. That usually they were already kind of like married or seeing somebody, long-term relationships in most of the cases that I'm aware of. And so this channel it's a bit of an insight to my life, but it's also, I see it as a little bit educational, and for that people are interested to know what would be the price difference of living in the West to here, to Thailand. And for me, it's about showing also what can be done, what can be achieved and what can be built on quite a low budget here, because ultimately what we're talking about is not the price, we're talking about freedom. Freedom is the aim of the game. Like, that's what many of us want, right? And in today's world where the prices are getting higher and higher and property is getting more and more difficult to get, and it is tax on property is going up, and it's just absolute, for me, what seems like the end of days when I look around at the West. Without getting too political about it, things are getting more expensive, and so freedom itself is getting more expensive. And today I wanted to give you some examples of some little bits of land around the area and what they actually cost. And then we're also going to go and look at how much it would be to rent a small, what could be quite a nice little cafe, and quite a nice little restaurant, and how much it would cost here to start a business like that. And then you can compare that to how it is in the West. But the undertone of the vlog, especially when associated with money, it's not money, it's freedom. That's the undertone of the content that I produce on this channel, or at least I'd like to think it is. So I'm going to be showing you lots of bits on this little journey, and I'm not suggesting you should buy in Thailand. I think if you have certain circumstances, you should buy in Thailand. But in my circumstances, for example, if you have children or whatnot, there'll be many comments on videos like this that just say, oh, just rent. And in some cases, it is best to just rent. You can get a very cheap property, not tied down, especially if you want to be in the tourist areas. Land can't be owned by Farang, so it's better to rent in some cases. But if you've got a family here and a wife, and you have a long-term vision, long-term plan, and you want to leave something for your kids, I say build cheaply. If you're absolutely loaded, build expensively. But if you're more conservative and you're thinking about how money actually can buy time, and you value that time, maybe you don't want to plow it all into a building, build cheaply and use the money to buy your time, so to speak. So this is the first little building we're looking at. This one here is actually for rent, and it's a real fixer-upper, as you can see. It looks like somebody tried to do it as a shop before, but I think it would make a half-decent cafe. I'm going to show you another one in this video as well, which will make a half-decent cafe. The issue around here is a lot of people here don't have a lot of money, so you can't charge crazy prices in a cafe. And it is hard to do business here. I actually think it's easier, as I do a lot of business online, because I can sell across Thailand, so particularly into the islands with our ceremonial cacao, but also our honey. But if you did want a small cafe, restaurant, something like this would be appropriate. I guess it would also depend on where you're actually located. So if you were living close by, this is probably all the kind of option that you have. And you're not actually buying a place, but you would have to refurbish it, obviously. Can you hear this clicking now? A lot of people told me that, you know, tin roof, get the tin roof for the house, not a problem. I like to hear the rain on the roof. But you know, you hear a lot of birds walking on the roof with these tin roofs, and the sun hits them and they expand and contract, and they can be really noisy. Now, I was told as well, this place does have a toilet, so to speak, probably Thai style. Oh no, it's not, it's a Western toilet. I'm seeing this the first time along with you. So they often paint these like really bright colors in rural Thailand, like these pinks and these greens. And while I enjoy it, like as the style of the area, like it just reminds me of quintessential like rural Thailand, I wouldn't want it in my house. So actually this place, you know, looks a bit of a mess now, but it could really be fixed up quite nice with, you know, some nice new tiles, get it all painted white, nice sink. You've got to use your imagination and creativity. As I mentioned, something like this is a real fixer-upper. And then also there's one aircon room in here. And this was actually probably used when they first opened that little shop that we've just seen out the front with the empty shelves and things. It was probably used as a living space in here. So you do have an aircon and glass window. And to have an aircon space in rural Thailand, I think is a must. It's looking not too old as well in comparison to some of the aircons that I've seen. And yeah, this is a very simple room. And obviously this is like fishing at the bottom of the bucket kind of thing. But you get enough vlogs out there about expensive condos and expensive palaces and houses. I guess I show the other side of that in rural Thailand. Some people would want to live in here. I know when I had my jazz lounge in Hoi Hin, I did live above it because it made sense. Like the rent covered where I was staying too. And you might be thinking, well, how much is it to rent every month? And it's 3,000 baht. 3,000 baht a month to rent, which if you think about it, that's kind of the going rate for a very cheap room in Thailand, 3,000 baht a month. And so you kind of get the room, but you get a little bit of shop front too. Could you live in this as a house? I think you could. I think you could have this as a residential property as well, just that you were going to rent, but I probably wouldn't. Simply because it's got this road near it. It would require a little bit of renovation in order to do that. The other thing is, in rural Thailand when you rent, the key money doesn't kill you. Like, I remember paying key money when I was renting my jazz lounge, the actual property we renovated, and it was just kind of money for nothing, just for handing over the keys. Here you may be asked for a month's rent up front, something like that, or which obviously isn't a lot, but you don't have to pay the silly key money that you would in like the tourist areas. And we spent quite a lot of money renovating that bar, and that money that kind of just went to the landlord in the end. So it was kind of dead money. And just to give you an idea of land prices around here, this little piece of land now where they're currently demolishing an old wooden house, they'll sell that wood on, it's recyclable, it can be used elsewhere. But the whole area here is just under a rai, and that's going for around 200,000 baht in this area for one rai, which is not too bad for road front as well, with the electricity already inside. This came with a wooden house on the building that could have been used, but actually they decided to knock it down and sell it as scrap wood, which is probably what I would have done as well. And this you could build a decent little house on, a little patch of land here, and there's good coverage from the trees at the front from the road. So 200,000. This is non-Chanotes as well, so I won't go into all the specifics of that, but it's not Chanotes, and so there is some risk associated with buying land like this. Then again, there's risk associated with buying any land in Thailand, because especially if you're a foreigner, because you just you have to go through certain ways and means to do it, which many that watch this vlog already know, so I won't go through again. The other thing is, in this area here, it's all North Sam, so it's all not Chanote, and that's because the government haven't changed this land yet into Chanote, but they have already said they are going to do that, and it could be up to 5 years. Those that have the ownership under the North Sam end up getting the Chanote land. So it is a little bit of a speculative investment, but I've seen this happen in surrounding areas where it all turned to Chanote and there was no problem. The Thai owners that already had a claim to the land ended up getting the Chanote from the government, and now they have Chanote land, and that instantly puts the price up and puts the safety up. So the way I see it, if I buy anything around here for the kids, that is speculating that it would turn to Chanote eventually, which there is no reason why it shouldn't, and it happens all across Thailand. Of course, for foreigners that don't spend a lot of time here, there's a lot of skepticism about such things. Oh, it's stupid, or it'll never happen. But it does happen all the time. And so option number 2 for rental, a small cafe, restaurant in rural Thailand, is right across from a school. And you can see you have a little tiki hut outside the front here. And it's usually the students that would come across and get something. I'm not sure why they didn't open like a sweet shop, because I know next to Otis's school there's a sweet shop and it's absolutely packed full of kids, obviously buying sweets, but also buying like homemade snacks, meat on a stick and things like that. Stuff that the Thai kids like here. You've got a little shop next door, and this one here, I'll just let you know, is also renting for 3,000. But you can see this has had a lot more done to it. It's been painted, you have the tables in already. Inside you already have a kitchen with a hob. It was a restaurant before. You have a food display in here, a fridge, a sink that also comes with it. So considering the rent is the same as the other place, this doesn't have an air-conditioned space, but considering the rent is the same, you actually get more in terms of a small business here than you would elsewhere. Now, no foreigner in their right mind would ever move to Thailand and then open a restaurant like this for 3,000 baht a month and expect to be able to make it. It just can't happen. Number one, if you are going to do things legally and properly, you have to register a company, and the upkeep of that work permit, like for me, I have to have 2 Thai staff, but you would have to have 4 if you weren't married. So a small business like this, I'm not suggesting is for foreigners. I'm suggesting that if you had a Thai wife or a Thai family, a small business like this may be a bit of fun. Don't put all your eggs in one basket with it, especially if it's a restaurant like this. I think the fact that this is already packed up and the woman couldn't make rent is fact enough to show that if a Thai can't do it, like a woman that's just kind of cooking alone, and if they can't do it, it's going to be very hard for you to do it. Unless, saying that, you can actually, and I've seen this happen in rural Thailand, you can add an air-conditioned space, you can start marketing online, and then it becomes like people end up coming there as like a destination. And there are some very successful cafes that are done very tastefully out here in rural Thailand, and they've made them work financially because the quality of their offering, the quality of their food is just something as well you don't get elsewhere. There are a couple of cafes around here that nearly all the foreigners that live in the area will kind of congregate in and go to. And they don't mind paying a little bit extra, but the prices aren't really ridiculous around here. And they've managed to make it work. Something like this, which is kind of just like your standard hole-in-the-wall Thai food shop, probably won't work. But I did think it was interesting anyway to let you know what the kind of rents would be on these kind of places. Of course, this is something Damo and I looked into as well, because for the past 3 years of being here, I never expected to be living in rural Thailand. I didn't want to live in rural Thailand at this age until the COVID happened, and then we came back and I fell in love with it. I'm like, actually, yeah, this is the life that we do want. And so for the past 3 years, I've always been looking for different businesses and what can you actually do to make money here, And that's why I have the business that I have now. But we looked at a number of, this here is a shop as well. And they went the Big C route. They did a deal with Big C, and it didn't really work out, because here as well, you don't want to make your shop look nice. We will at the end of this vlog. I'll take you to where within the family we're building a shop here as well on the front. It's not me and Damo, but you don't want to. We were telling them that they don't want to make the shop too good looking, because the locals, if it all looks very nice and good looking and new fridges and stuff, they won't shop there because they think it's expensive. And if you're doing a deal with Big C, it probably is expensive. So you want to make it look a bit run down if you're going to do a side shop like that. Here, this one also has a little toilet in here, done in the blue and the yellow. Again, just small changes. I think you could, with the design, can make things look a lot better, in my opinion. Also, it has the tin roof again, which you can hear crackling. I know I just mentioned this, but some people were saying I love the sound of a tin roof. You don't when it's crackling like that all day. I guarantee it's romantic for about an hour. Would I do it as a business idea out here? No, not unless it was to keep the kids busy or something. Like, I like the idea of a little starter business for Otis and Hugo if they were to stay in this area, to learn the ropes and particularly how hard work the food and beverage industry is, because I've worked in the food and beverage industry for many years. I was an F&B manager in a hotel chain, and so I know what it is to work in F&B, and it's bloody hard. But it teaches you a lot. It teaches you a lot about people. It teaches you a lot about hard work. And so something like that I could see like as a something to do on the side. Like if you were going to go all out and you think you could really do like a destination cafe, you had a good social network of Westerners that you could get to frequent the place. I've seen that work as well, especially when you've got a lot of Westerners that want to congregate and get together, especially in these rural areas where that's hard to do. I think something like this, would work. If you're going to do something different, some live music, you'd really have to stand out, I guess is what I'm saying. When I look at it, do I see potential? I think I see potential in everything that I look at, but I also see risk, and the risk to potential reward here is way too high. Not because of the 3,000 baht a month rent, but because of the renovation and the money, the staffing and all that will have to go into a business like this in order to get it running, and I dare say it may never be profitable. And so within our family, this is the shop that's being built. This is for Damo's sister's retirement, and they're building it here. It's on a very country road. Some may recognize this is just around the corner from our house. So the idea here is that Damo's brother would actually live here. He's building a room in the back for them to actually live. And last time I showed this, it was just the columns that were up. But now, as you can see, the steel roof is on, again tin roof. And the front space would be for a small shop, and the back space for a small living area, just a small room back there. This is quite normal in Thailand for people to have a house and turn it into a shop, or build a shop with the capability of it being a house too, because then you're not paying double rents. You have a little bit of land, a little bit of space on the land back here. It's already being used as a vegetable patch. This is some chili and some eggplant here, so it's a nice big space, but the foot traffic around here is very limited. If I were them, and I probably will talk to them about it as well, I would probably make sure this could double as a cafe at the front, just to serve drinks as well. Not everyone's going to come and just shop here, but to serve as a small cafe as well, have a little seating area. I would suggest you do that. You want to try and juice as many uses out of it as possible. And don't be wrong, they've not got all their eggs in one basket here. This isn't their kind of like retirement plan. It is supplementary to their retirement plan. So it is just one facet of what they intend to do here. And of course this space could also be rented out. Once it's got a building on it, it's more easily to rent it out. But as you've seen in this vlog, the rental prices are very low, just like 3,000 baht for a space here. And so actually this little piece of land here, just under probably about half a rai, probably a half a rai I would say. This one had a little house already built on it which was demolished, and it was purchased for just 50,000 baht, and that was around 8-9 years ago. So land prices were very cheap, and they're on the up and up, because something like this now may cost to 200,000 to 300,000. So it's done a 6x within the past 8 to 9 years. I will keep you updated on the vlog of the progress of this little shop. So I'm not recommending that you as a Westerner try to open a shop out here. I'm not saying that is a good idea, but for the wife, for the missus, for the kids perhaps that are Thai, that don't have to jump through all the hoops that we have to jump through as Westerners here, I think it can be nice to have a little side business. I would also add that here I would probably open a car wash too, because if I did have a member of staff in the shop and the cafe, there's room here to do a little car wash, bring the car in and get it washed. And there aren't many car washes around this local vicinity. There are some around in the main city, but not in this local area. You've got to try and juice, if you're going to do something like that, juice it for as much as you possibly can get out of it. I think it's just food for thought, and just a little bit interesting to know how cheap it is to rent here, and the prices of the land, and some of the things that people do in order to survive and buy their freedom here.